أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لقد أرسلنا رسلا بالبينات وأنزلنا معهم الكتاب والميزان ليقوم الناس بالقسط. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Ramadan with Zidane. Today is the 14th of Ramadan. Hope your Ramadan is going healthy, wealthy, advice, and everybody is having a great time memorizing the Quran, having a great time reciting the Quran, getting the rahmas and barakas of this blessed month, because of course Ramadan is the time when the shaitan are locked, and it's the best time to get the rahmas and barakas, and we can be, again, we are earning this because on that day nuruhum yas'a bayna aydihim, it is said in Surah Tahrim. Nuruhum, first it said ku anfusakum wa ahlikum yawm al-qiyamah, and then after that nuruhum yas'a bayna aydihim wa bi aymanihim yaquluna rabbana atmim lana nurana waghfir lana innaka ala kulli shay'in qadir. And this is the thing. So just like this, we need to be those people, and I feel that this is why we should learn, and again in our free time learn the Quran, get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not only in this month, in the next 11 months too. Now Surah Qasas, it is the 88th surah of the Quran. It is the 28th surah of the Quran. It has 88 verses. It is in juz number 20, and of course it is a very good surah because it has the story of Musa alayhi salam, Amba. It is Qasasul Anbiya. Three themes, of course: Amba Rusul, the skin bi ala illa, and again we have Qasasul Anbiya. Now in the first part you can find that, but over here we're gonna start now. What happened is, so far Musa alayhi salam, he was brought in Fir'aun's household. He escaped the guards, and just he was sent in that chest. Fir'aun picked him up from that chest, and then he just made himself an indirect. He dug his own grave by picking up Musa alayhi salam. And Musa alayhi salam was saved. This was how the promise was fulfilled. Inna radduhu ilayki wa jailuhu min al-mursalin. Now, 21st verse. What happened was, after that, a person called him, committed a crime, he killed a person accidentally, but he killed a person. Now the chiefs, they know that he has done this. Now they're like, now we're gonna kill Musa as retribution. So then what he does is he flees. Now I have to just tell you a little bit information about geography, because we're gonna now know the scope. What is this? But first of all, before that, ta'awuz, because it is said in the 41st surah of the Quran, Surah Fussilat, wa imma yanzaghannaka minash shaitani nazghun fasta'iz billah. And if anybody or the shaitan puts anything evil, then take refuge from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fasta'iz billah. And what is that? The best one is a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Fakharaja minha khaifan yataraqabu qala rabbi najini min al-qawmi adh-dhalimin. So he ran from there in fear and vigilant, looking to the left, to the right, forward, backward. If some person is following me, if some person is approaching me, and he says, Rabbi najini min al-qawmi adh-dhalimin. Oh my Lord, save me from the disbelievers. Then, now what is the geography? So when he puts his face towards the way of Madian, he says, oh my Lord, he might guide me to the right way. Why? Now there are different speculations, but we are just going to give you this geographical insight. Now the Nile Delta, it stretches in the middle of Egypt, and Egypt is very dry. It has a hot desert climate. The winters are and the summers are about 45, no rainfall. Winters is majority of the rainfall, about between 25 degrees to 10 degrees. But then we have, it even gets hot in the winters. But then the Nile Delta, because of that river, that lifeline, you can do agriculture, the climate is better. Like for example, in the city of Cairo, you can get even snow, because in Cairo it can snow, and it snowed in 2020 because of the Nile Delta. But aside from that, you go in the desert, it gets very hot. Now, what happens over here is that Nile Delta, that was where this town was located. We don't know the exact geographical position, nor the town has been really explicitly stated in the Quran, but wherever it was definitely in the Nile Delta. Where can Musa alayhi salam run? Because all the area you have is the governorate of Egypt. And if you're going to run south, if you're going to run west, nothing. Like at that time, Tunisia and Algeria, they probably didn't exist. And then on the east and on the north, if you run north, you're just gonna, like, how are you gonna escape? You're gonna dive into the Mediterranean Sea, which is actually not escaping, it is death. Which is, escaping. But again, Musa alayhi salam had to fulfill his mission. Then there is the eastern route going east. East was now the Sinai Peninsula. You might have heard of it. There was this war back in the 70s between Israel and like Arab nations. There was over the Sinai Peninsula. Then what happened was that Egypt got the Sinai Peninsula back. It's not a very good place to live. It is very mountainous. Average peaks are between 4,000 to 8,000 feet. And it gets bitterly cold there. Sinai Peninsula, in the winters, it goes to about -5, -10. It snows there and a lot of hail. And in the summer, it's quite dry, about 30, 35 degrees. Not a good climate. And it was this whole big, rugged, jagged mountains and ravine. And he had to go east through that to Madian. Now, the Red Sea, it goes up. It goes up. Now, before the Suez Canal was made, now you cannot go on foot from Egypt, from Africa to Asia. At that time, you could go. And this is what Musa alayhi salam did. He went from Africa to Asia in that area. But now the Suez Canal is made. You can't do that. I mean, you can go through the Suez Bridge, but I'm just speculating, okay? We're just saying about it. So, what happened was that you couldn't go. Now you can't go. But what happened was the Red Sea, it stopped there. That peninsula, it stopped it. But it was very rugged, snowy, cold, harsh. And then you have the two gulfs. The Gulf of Suez, which was the peninsula one, Egypt, and the Gulf of Aqaba. Aqaba is a city in Jordan. It is located right at the tip of Jordan. It is very close to Africa. And Madian, it was located near Aqaba. Modern day Aqaba, it was basically Madian. So Madian was located in that area. So what happened was that Musa alayhi salam, he went there. He went and he had to now go through this area by foot all the way to Aqaba. So you can see Aqaba is like Jordan, very big tip on the Gulf of Aqaba. And you go from Egypt, you cross the whole continent. And that's gonna be, if you go by car, about 3 to 4, 5 days it's gonna take you by car, because the roads are also not in good shape. And that time there weren't any roads, basically, like there were paths. So we don't know how much time it took Musa alayhi salam to cross from Egypt to Aqaba, which is the Gulf of Aqaba, Madian. We don't know, but it has to be a lot of time. It was quite a lot. And we know that when he came there in Madian, he was in tatters. His skin was peeling off from his feet. He had shoes, but in that journey his shoes had peeled off. And now what happened was that his skin, there was only skin that was remaining. His skin was bleeding. His clothes were torn. He was in a very rugged and tattery shape. But then he came to Madian. وَلَمَّا وَرَدَ مَاءُ مَدْيَنَ وَجَدَ أُمَّةً مِنَ النَّاسِ يَسْقُونَ وَوَجَدَ مِن دُونِهِمْ امْرَأَتَيْنِ تَذُودَانِ. Now when he reached the waters of Madian, which was the well is always, now at that time, olden ages, well was always located outside the town. So there was like the town's well was located on the west or the north or the outskirts of the town. So the travelers, whenever they went to any town, they saw it's first, like now when we travel between far towns, there is the sign that is written. Like for example, I'm just taking an example. For example, there is Tunisia. So you go from Tunis to Sfax. So there is written, when you come near Sfax, there's gonna be a sign, Sfax. It's gonna be written. Normally in Pakistan, I don't think there has been like, whenever you reach a town, there is a sign. But normally in other countries like Tunisia or Poland, you are gonna find these signs. So just like this, instead of a sign, there was like a well. So when you reached Madian, there was the well of Madian, from which every shepherd, they used to take water, and they used to take flocks, and they used to water their flocks. Now Musa alayhi salam, he reached that well. And he saw that there was all these shepherds, all these people, they were all watering their flocks, they were all feeding them water, they were also themselves drinking water. And then what happened was, he see two women in the midst of it. And they were not watering their flocks. They were holding their flocks from going. Then he said, what is the problem? They said that we cannot water the flocks because we can't really get in, like there might be a dispute, there might be an argument. It's gonna be very ugly. If there's an argument, we won't be able to defend ourselves. And they might steal our flocks. And then what happens is, or Abuna, or father is very old. Then what happened? Musa alayhi salam, he did this as an act of gratitude. فَسَقَى لَهُمَا, and he gives them water. ثُمَّ تَوَلَّى إِلَى الظِّلِّ, then he went towards the shade, because then he said, فَقَالَ رَبِّ إِنِّي لِمَا أَنزَلْتَ إِلَيَّ مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَقِيرٌ. Whatever you give to me, I am in severe need of it. You can see, you can imagine, you can think Musa alayhi salam, he was in so much distress, he was in so much, you can say, he was in so much dire straits, destitute, penniless, in tatters, in that journey that had worn him out. And he said, whatever you give to me, make anything out of this opportunity. Maybe they might notice me. Maybe they might bring me to the sheikh and he might employ me. But just whatever happens is, just give this to me. Just whatever you bestow on me, I need it. Then what happened was, it was not immediately, but it was about 15-20 minutes. فَجَاءَتُ إِحْدَاهُمَا, one of the women came to him. Tamshi ala stihya, walking shy. Qalat, she said, Inna abi yaduka liyajiyaka ajra ma saqaitalna. Indeed, our father is calling you to reward you of what you have given us, like this act of kindness. Falamma ja'ahu wa qassa alayhi al-qasas. When he came to him and he told him about all this story, qala la takhaf. He said, don't be fearful. Najauta min al-qawmi az-zalimin. You are saved from them. You are saved from the disbelieving qawm. Now, there are two interpretations. Who is this person? Who is this Sheikh of Madian? And the ulama, there is like a 60-40 between this. For example, 60% of, basically 60% of the people, of the ulama, 60% of the ulama, they state that this old man was Shu'aib alayhi salam himself. And he was now very old. He had two daughters. And now Madian was new. After the Ashabul Aika were destroyed, this new generation had come and they were all believers. Second, people say that, some ulama say that this is not the right timeline for Shu'aib alayhi salam. We know that Shu'aib alayhi salam, after him came Musa alayhi salam. But the timeline is not right, because normally when you have the disbelieving nation, they disbelieve, they get destroyed, then a new generation replaces them. It takes about 50-60 years, and it doesn't fit the timeline for Shu'aib alayhi salam to be here. So this was some very wise, some very good, some very righteous, some person who might have been with Shu'aib alayhi salam, but not necessarily Shu'aib alayhi salam himself. He might be one of those people, those early followers who Shu'aib alayhi salam called, why don't you, Allah tattakun inni lakum rasul amin, and one of the few people who believed in him was this person. And now he is very old, 80, 90, 100 years, and he is in his oldhood. And for a lack of better time, I would say he is now in his old age. So there are two opinions, and wallahu a'lam, but these are the most two important opinions. So qalat ihdahuma, now one of them spoke up. Qalat ihdahuma ya bat istajar, please reward him. Inna khayra man istajarta al-qawiyul amin. Indeed, the best who you reward are the qawi and the amin, the good people, the strong people, and the trustworthy people. Now he says, he proposes to him a employment. It's kind of like, now I'm going to employ. قال إني أريد أن أنكحك إحدى بناتي هاتين على أن تأجرني ثمانية حجج. I am going to wed to you one of my daughters, that on this condition that you serve to me 8 years. 8 years of shepherding, watering the flocks, and all these, duties. Then فَإِنْ أَتْمَمْتَ عَشَرًا فَمِنْ إِنْدِكَ, and if you complete 10, then it is a good favor from you. وَمَا أُرِيدُ أَنْ أَشُقَّ عَلَيْكَ, and I do not need that any hardship be put on you. سَتَجِدُنِي إِنْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. Indeed, you are going to find me from the good people. قَالَ ذَلِكَ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَكَ. Now, this is Musa alayhi salam said, this is between me and you. أَيَّمَا لَجَنَيْنُ قَضَيْتُ فَلَا عُدْوَانَ عَلَيْكَ. Whatever I will complete, no grudges between you and me. وَاللَّهُ عَلَى مَا نَقُولُ وَكِيلٌ, and Allah is surely over what we say. فَلَمَّا قَضَى مُوسَى الْأَجَلَ, and when Musa completed this start. So this is where I will stop. But the reason which I told you this start of this verse, because it is not told that how much he completed. Did he complete 8 years? Did he complete 10 years? Wallahu a'lam. But inshallah, we're going to find this in the next episodes. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from those people who are the most best, as-sabiqun, those people who enter the Jannah, those people who get the most rahmas and barakat, not only in this month, the rest of the 11th months, and those people who cross that sirat, nuruhum yas'a bayna aydihim, from their right hands, wa bi aymanihim, and their chests, yaquluna, and they will say, Rabbana atmim lana nurna waghfir lana innaka ala kulli shay'in qadir, Rabbana la taj'alna fitnatan lil ladzina kafaru waghfir lana Rabbana innaka antal azizul hakim, Rabbana ilayka tawakkalna wa ilayka nabna إليك المصير ربي بما أنعمت علي فلن أكون ظهيرا للمجرمين ربي أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأصلح لي في عبادك من الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.